This is Don Hyman, and this is the October 9 meeting of the Lower Wharf Subcommittee of the Fairfield Harbor Management Commission. And with me at the table are fellow Commissioner George Harris, Vice Chairman of the Commission, and Town Engineer William Hurley. And I guess we'll start the meeting with a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. So the first item on the agenda today, I'm grateful to Bill, who agreed at the last minute to come and give us just and we won't hold you to timing on this because we realize everything is kind of written in sand, literally. But what would be helpful for George and myself is to understand the milestones ahead in a big project, what for us is a big project like this, and those points where we on the commission need to help, to be a part of it. The first one it just came up yesterday, of course. Devin Santa sent me the 2 permits that are needed for DEP to sign off on that and get the wheels moving in Hartford on that.
Oh, so he has given it to you.
He's given me the permits, and at the recommendation of Jeff, we're going to go through the exercise of having a little discussion on that at our next meeting of the full commission on Tuesday, and we will vote on going forward with that, and I'm sure it will be approved. And then I guess Devin takes that to Hartford, and we wait and see what we expect the full approval on that, given that they've given us the green light on the bonding. But as you look forward, in the course of the discussion, I mentioned to Devin that the early opinion was that we thought we might be able to get underway on this project in the spring, but Devin said he didn't think that was possible. More likely the time frame would be fall. So Bill, what would be really helpful to me, and we're so uninformed on this process, so take it easy on us, but after we submit those permits to DEP in the next week or two, what happens next, and what can we do to help, if anything, to facilitate?
Okay. One of the things is you mentioned the 2 permits to be signed. Now, when you saw it, did you note it? You will sign them, I guess, after the meeting that you guys have next week, is it? Or the week?
Correct, next Tuesday.
So then from there, did you happen to notice, he may have sent them to me as well, I don't think so. Was there a note where the town has to sign for it, or the Harbor Management Commission is basically representing the town on it?
My recollection, looking at the documents, was just me.
Mm-hmm.
I did copy. If the email you saw, the links, the PDFs for the permits are in the email. I can resend that to you. In fact, I would make a note to resend permit PDF to Bill.
Yeah, I can see it. I'm sure I have gotten them, just haven't read them yet.
Yeah. But
so that it
was just me to sign off to say it was consistent with the harbor management plan, and there were 2 permits or 2 documents.
There'll be a fee associated with that permit, where I'd asked Devin if Race could just pay that and then send us an invoice as what we call direct cost. And so when he does that, we'll just have to have a discussion of whether it would be the Harbor Management Commission that pays, or we take that permit fee out of the project costs, associated as a town share as part of that grant.
Okay.
So, which was probably what I would think we would do.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that's another milestone, fee payment. Okay. Yep. What after that?
Then after that, the DEP will review the permit. This is where the timeline could alter tremendously. If they receive the permit and it gets sent to, I'm gonna call him an agent, the reviewer, and they're familiar with the project already. In an effort for them to get it off fast track, it might only take a couple of months. Typically, a certificate of permission, which is an easier form of a permit, which we don't have for this addition. We have to go with a full-blown permit. It would take 45 to 90 days for them to review. So the full permit is much longer. So it's just a matter of, if it's a quick review, it may only take a couple of months. However, knowing that DEP is swamped, we thought maybe they would grandfather us or add this to the original, COP or the permit that we had originally for the L section, we'll call it. They said, no, you need to go for a full permit. So looking now at either, I'm not going to call it pessimistic, but a more realistic with no hopes, if you know what I mean, maybe a conservative, that's probably a better word, conservative estimate would be is that they would review it and give us an answer sometime in the spring of 2025. We would then put the project out to bid and award it sometime in the summer.
Who puts the project out? Bid?
That would be our purchasing department. Yep.
Purchasing department.
The process is that typically the consulting engineer will say, here's the project documents. Can somebody from the town look them over? Usually it'd be somebody from engineering to look it over. Maybe somebody from zoning may have an interest, I don't know, or somebody else. We say, yep, looks good, ready to go. They send what we call like the meat and potatoes, the plans, specifications to purchasing. Purchasing then puts on their what we call boilerplate, typical of all the things that they require for a town project, and then they put it out to bid. So all that process would occur most likely in the summer of 2025.
Okay. And then again, never having done this. So let's say optimistically the bids go out to the list that purchasing has sometime in the summer of 25. What happens after that? And tell us if there's any point along the way where we at the commission need to be going to a
public meeting or a support.
Or getting some of the money because the state provided X, but not all of it.
All the approvals are already done. So if the bids come in within the budget of the grant, which right now, I'm just going to give you a round figure of like 1.2 million. If the bids come in for less than that, and we've included a little bit of maybe, it can't be more than probably 10%, and it might only be 5% of maybe a construction administration, where if we want to hire race to do the inspections, or whether if we have the manpower to do that in-house, we might be able to do it that way. So we have to leave a little bit left. Mm-hmm. But if everything looks pretty good for that, there'd be no need to solicit any assistance, I think, from the Harbor Management Commission, outside of maybe helping with public outreach. Letting people know, hey, this is the project. We estimate it to start at this time or something like that. And you could probably work with the communications chair, Lisa Claire at the First Selectman's office.
Yes, so our role would be public relations, communication, in concert with Lisa Claire.
Right, and that's if everything goes well under the budget and all that. Now, if the bids still come in under budget, we're able to then award or recommendation for the reward to the contractor after we check references and stuff. We then only one more time have to go back to the Board of Selectmen per town charter to approve a contract between the contractor and the town.
Does Historic District Commission get involved in that?
That's a good question. while we're waiting for the permits, we could
forget
probably, no, that's a good question. Usually from the historic, district, if you can see it from the road, which the, pier would be, but, I would like to think that it's never a slam dunk,
Right.
but it's there, it was there already, it's gonna be the same materials. I can't imagine them, turning that, down, especially with public use. And then the retaining wall, that are gonna be part of the project as well, that's a restoration of the property, and again, same situation where we're basically trying to just replace in kind.
Yeah.
But that is a good point. I would say that we probably should, in the side of caution, sometime in the upcoming months, make an application to them, or at least let them know about it. And if it's under their jurisdiction, they'll let us know, and we just go to a meeting for that.
We have a very good opportunity to do that.
Yep.
This week, actually, if you feel this is prudent, we have a hearing with them on Thursday.
Of our application for the signs that we'd like to put up, the safety signs that we'd like to put up down at Lower Wharf.
Oh, okay, so the safety signs at Lower Wharf.
And those would,
Oh, okay.
one of them goes actually not at Lower Wharf per se, it goes per a long series of maneuvers and approvals. One will go in the yacht yard area near adjacent to Harbor Road, so you pass by it on your way to Lower Wharf, and then a smaller sign per the terms of the deed associated with that smaller lot adjacent.
The property swap or whatever
Yeah.
it was, yes.
There's a smaller sign that has very deed-specific language and restrictions that will get posted there.
Say 1101 Harbor Road, does that sound right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So those are the two land components. Just for your information, we had originally thought to put a sign at Lower Wharf. Neighbors objected to having the horror of looking at a sign. So
yeah. Now it's refreshing me that you're on the agenda for Thursday. We could submit plans and stuff, but typically the the Historic District Commission usually wants you to submit this material like 3 weeks before their meeting. And so
they've got
most
a pretty
likely,
busy agenda.
I think we can kind of just do a hint of,
Yeah.
while we're doing the signs, oh, by the way, just let you know, if you haven't heard, we're replacing the pier. Currently, all the proposals are to replace in kind, and any repairs, replacements are all going to be in kind. If the commission feels we have to be put on the agenda for a formal vote, we'll be willing to do that next month or something like that. But at least this way, they kind of
they're being consulted.
Right, and maybe the slightest of chance they'll say, "Oh no, it's not under our jurisdiction." But I would anticipate that they're going to make us go through. Yeah.
All right, so that's another kind of thing for us to do.
Right, and then again, that would be, and that's where I'm going to go back to the bid, but that's exactly where we would seek the assistance, obviously, because at the Historic District Commission meeting, there'll always be, is there anybody in favor of is anybody from the public in favor of the project? You don't have to have the whole group there, but one, maybe two representatives to say, yes, matter of fact, we got the state grant, it was a rare opportunity, we're looking for the improvements here, we're very sensitive to the situation, we're repairing everything in kind, pretty much the way it was back in the 70s, 80s, and this will create better opportunities for public viewing, for fishing, and whatever else the pier and the property, because that's part of the proposal. From a safety standpoint, some of the retaining walls are starting to fall apart. That nor'easter storm did a little number. We did at least immediate repairs to make it safe for now, but long-term repairs, this should keep us in pretty good shape. So,
long-term repair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unlike the kind of Band-Aid approach that we have to take.
Exactly. So now going back to, if for some reason the bids were slightly higher or way higher, and we needed additional money, which according to the estimates doesn't seem to be the case, the town would have two choices. We could either, instead of, say, doing the T, I'm just going to make up a number because I don't know it offhand, but let's say it was 100 feet long. Well, maybe now we only do it 80 feet long, you know what I mean, to save the money or whatever. Or we would go back to the boards and ask for whatever additional monies might be needed if the bids were higher.
So if we need more, we either modify the project to fit the available funds or ask for more money.
That's right. Right. And then asking for more money, again, you have to go through all three boards, and that's where, again, the, harbor management and...
would be Board of Selectmen?
Yeah, Board of Finance and ARTM.
Okay, so there's plenty of checks and balances there.
But again, showing the support, if the commission felt necessary, which I think it would, to get the project completed, then just showing up at those meetings, much I think like you had done for the previous.
What kind of, in optimistically or even conservatively, the turnaround time from the time bids go out from purchasing to the time contractors are selected and work begins, roughly a range of time for that?
We'll have to double check. I mean, typically, once we open up the bids, and as I said, you might have to go back. You have to go back to the Board of Selectmen. That would be 2 weeks, and then there's maybe another week or two to analyze the bid. So about a month after that, we would then officially award the bid, give them a notice to proceed, the contractor, him or her, a notice to proceed, and then host a pre-construction meeting. So roughly 1 month after the bid opening, assuming, again, everything's on schedule, and we don't have to seek extra money, because obviously going through that, you have to add another 6 weeks to go through the town process.
And the actual work of disassembling and reassembling all that's down there.
I think, if I remember, and I'm going by memory on this, I think it was, the project was going to take like 4 months to do.
Okay, once you're put the first shovel in to when you're finished could be 4 months.
Right, but it is possible that could be reduced depending on the company that's awarded. If the company or the contractor that's awarded has, I'm trying to think of the best term for it, construction personnel that works with timber, carpenters or whatever, and can do that work, and then has a group of masons do the wall, it's possible that they can kind of do them somewhat simultaneously. If not, then they may phase it out, and so that's where it would be 2 months and 2 months. 2 months for the wall and 2 months for the pier.
Okay.
So that's where, so.
Okay.
So that would be the schedule there. So let's, again, assuming that we, in the spring, then the summer, so that would put us at fall construction, which I think is fairly ideal, because then the yacht club, any boaters, that was one of the concerns a couple of the commission members might have had of, interfering with the vessels during construction. And then we just have to double check. It was only on a phone call, but we have to double check the permit to see if there's any restrictions. Sometimes DEP will put in a restriction of you can't work during June, July, and August, or you can only work October to March or something like that. So we just have to double check and see if there was any time restriction. My recollection is that there wasn't any, but we'll have to double check on that.
And the construction company will know that it's a federal channel and they have to leave that at least open for boats to get through.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the channel, the pier can't go beyond the channel, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so there should be, I would think, even extra room than the channel. Because if I recall in discussions with Jeff Stedman, who is
The
very
dredging,
helpful,
yeah.
is the dredging, they're gonna do the 100-foot channel, but I'll call it the line closest to the wharf, it hasn't changed. Even when we only did a partial dredging, that line's always been the same. It's the other side, where they were going, where the sand shoal had occurred, and where at that one time the DEP made us do a narrower channel. Now, with the full-fledged dredge, we'll be able to do the 100 feet, but it's in the other direction. It's in the other direction.
Right. The, any update on dredging, given, I understand that this week, the country club of Fairfield, is finalizing its part of the easement, drama, and the botanical permits, that's all.
Yeah, my understanding is it's the items on the agenda for the Board of Selectmen today, this afternoon. And so assuming that gets approval, they send all the documents into Army Corps. Army Corps will see, okay, we've got all this stuff, we should be set, and then they can schedule for this year. If there's still some holdup that we don't know about, or something comes up, or for some reason it doesn't get passed, or the country club doesn't provide the necessary documents, then it's possible that they could postpone the dredge till next year, or at the very end of the season if everything seemed to work out. But it probably would be pushed next year, and for everyone involved with that dredging project, you just never know what's going to happen next year. They may all of a sudden decide something, or if we're in a recession, let's put a freeze on the money, you know what I mean? So we're really trying to get it done this year, this November.
Yeah, I think it's, to be grown-ups about this, it's fair to say that's a wild card that could impact the Lower Wharf rebuild. If the dredging, the dredging moved to, let's just say, February of 25, I mean, we have no control over when the Army will do things.
Right, except for the fact of, even when we were looking at the original proposal to do the channel, the wharf was there, right, or at least the L section of it.
Right.
So I would think if they could have done it back then, they could still do it now. And as I was saying before, the original channel, the wharf was there when they did. Now the only thing is they may not have done the full depth.
Now my concern, and I love to be told I'm worrying unnecessarily, is that
no, it's good to be worried, to be prepared, right?
That we have one crew of engineers working on dredging and another crew of engineers and workers working on rebuilding the wharf, and they're both in the same narrow space at the same time. That could be problematic. Mm-hmm. And that is we have to kind of...
Right, if we went with the schedule of spring permit approval, summer bid, fall 2025 construction, and if this were to get pushed back a year, it is possible that there could be potential conflict.
Because it would seem to me that the priority is the dredging, of course. The dredging has to happen in fall. If the Army says the dredging will happen in fall, we say yes, the dredging will happen in fall, and we move our work to when we can do it.
Right, and to alleviate that fear is obviously we will know whether the Army Corps is going to do the dredging this season way before we have the bid opening. So we'll be able to determine that. And if it were to somehow be delayed, we would have to put that notation in the spec saying that the Army Corps expects the project. I think they had said, I don't know, 2 to 4 weeks, but we were figuring a month, just to play it safe. Right. So again, if all things are the same for next year, they said, all right, the month of November, then that's where we again say, hey, there's nothing preventing the contractor from working on the walls in November.
Correct.
It's just that we would recommend that you wait until after they're done for,
Gotcha.
and we could put that notation in the bid.
Right,
so
so
it's clear.
fair to say, we'll know the Army's dredging timetable
Exactly.
before the bids go out.
That's correct.
And can modify the bids accordingly.
Right.
All right, that's what I was worried
Yep.
about.
No, that's okay. So I think that's, pretty much it. Is Devin expected to submit the permits within the next week or two?
I'm sitting on them.
Yeah. So, if, by next whatever, if he happens to be at the meeting, you can,
Well, Devin lives.
If not, he can scan them and send
Devin
them
lives
or
a block away from me.
whatever. Okay, so there you go. So that's even better.
Yeah.
Because then that way, right after the meeting, you could bring them over or whatever, or, if you don't have the capabilities of scanning or something like that, I'm sure Jeff Stedman does, or we, you could give it to us and we'll scan it and send it to him, the signed copies, and go from there. So, there's a little bit of flexibility, slightly possible, as I said, and at the Board of Selectmen, at that time, we were figuring that if race maybe, and it's not a blame at all for them, it's just the way things were, but at the Board of Selectmen, there was a possibility that if they were able to submit the permit, or if DEP said, oh, you just submit us what you have and we'll, kind of piggyback it, then we could have possibly done the construction in the spring. But realistically, looking back, after having the initial talks, they're going to make us go through the full permit process, but their review should be somewhat expedited because they're familiar with the project and they've already approved the other sections.
Yeah.
So,
One last thing, in the interest of trying to streamline this and get the permit to Hartford as soon as we can for them to process, Jeff has suggested that a letter of transmittal be prepared, which would describe how this plan aligns with the harbor management, coastal management plan, as opposed to simply checking the box. There's a box.
oh, yeah.
That says it complies. Maybe I have a little bit of concern if Jeff has a letter of transmittal that he will bring to the Tuesday meeting, and I can sign that, fine.
If he wants you to create one, then.
If it's going to add another week or two to the process to create one, is it that important? It would seem to me I can just check this
The box, that's
check
right.
the box,
Right.
which is what they have the box for.
And I think to even cover yourself, if you, and this is again, not preparing for the meeting or anything like that, but if, using the words, you're checking the box to say that this project is in agreement with the, what was the
Harbor management plan.
Harbor management, plan.
It's a routine form that you check. It's consistent or not.
But, so, I mean, at the meeting, if it's easier, you maybe do a 2 to 5 minute discussion on, does it meet the harbor management plan? And if I was a commission member, if I knew that the harbor management plan had public access, safety and enjoyment for the public, natural resources, basically replacing in kind, I would say, and this fact that this use has already been established for decades, I would say that my knowledge, again, maybe you guys know more about it than me, but my knowledge, I would just simply say, based on those criteria, yes, it meets the harbor management, and then you don't even need a letter of transmission, because it would be a little bit in the notes, just a little paragraph saying that, commissioner, whoever, said, it's for public enjoyment, public access, natural resources. The DEP will obviously have purview, and so if the DEP says it's okay, well, then that would mean the natural resources wouldn't be affected or impacted. And then the only other thing left would be the harbor management plan, and it's just put in the caveat, obviously, that we would have to work with any scheduling of the dredging, which hopefully would occur this year, but if not, we have a mechanism in place to make the contractor aware that there might be a month slowdown, or that he might not be able to work in the water that particular month that Army Corps was doing the dredging, but they could work on the land portion of it, something like that. Or he could choose to start December 1st. I mean, this project, barring we don't get the 1960s winters, that, there's no reason, if you go by the last couple of years, why they couldn't do the work
during the winter.
Or maybe, as I said, even beforehand.
Yeah, thank you. It's very helpful to us, because, we're due to it, and it allows the commission to be more informed and not reactive, but just kind of on top of it.
And I might have given you a little bit more information.
No.
And that's where I get into trouble, people say, but I like to, not just, I could have given you, 1-2 word answers, or whatever, but I figure if I give you a little bit of background, then if something changes, now you kind of understand what it could be. Or if there's another project that comes up, and it's similar situation, but slightly different, then you have reasoning.
Very helpful.
What I will do is, there will be minutes from this meeting that I will write, and I will show them to you to approve before they go further, to make sure. And I will keep it simple.
You could just do the recap. You don't have to do word for word.
Exactly.
It's on tape, then they can listen to it.
It's just to give people, and then that becomes the broad calendar, not etched in stone, that we kind of look at.
Right, and that's why I didn't want to go with months. That's why I went with seasons for now. We'll have a better idea. And obviously, once DEEP has given us the approval, then from there, the schedule will be a little bit more refined. And then instead of,
After DEEP, we can...
After
DEEP and after Army.
Right. Because then from there, Rays could say it's going to take a month after the permit to put the thing out to bid. They could do that. As a matter of fact, Devin did we brought that up at our conversation, where being that they had said that they were familiar with it, they gave me no indication that they would turn this down. They might ask for more information. They may ask for a little bit of mitigation or something like that, but I don't see any reason why they would turn it down. We could have, DEEP, right. We could have the consultant, start writing some of the bid documents and stuff if we felt we were squeezing for time.
Right.
In other words, if DEEP says in February, it's still going to be 2 or 3 months, or we haven't even looked at it, kind of thing, then maybe, all right, well, we'll take a chance, but
and
the documents,
do you want us to be in charge of asking Devin to do that? Or
no, I think I applied to it on the phone. I hope you don't mind.
No.
We already gave them the approval. We already have signed and a PO. It's just a matter of whether they wait for it or you can do it concurrently.
You would know.
Should be engineer to engineer.
Yes.
Yeah. And then so on that aspect, it would just be trying to jumpstart, and we might be doing something similar for one of the traffic, what we call RFPs, where once we get confident we're at a good place, then we can start having them do some work concurrently, which might save a month in the process.
And my understanding is, just to confirm it, the town of Fairfield shells out all the money, pays all the bills to the engineers and the contractors, and then we get reimbursed by the state.
I believe that is the case with this grant, yes. Yeah, I believe this was an Urban Act grant, and it's a reimbursement grant. There are other grants where they pay you up front, and then you have to show the information. This one, I believe, is a reimbursement grant, correct?
Okay.
So yes, we would pay out front, and then we have to submit, usually you have to submit quarterly reports on the progress, and then you have to submit some sort of form, or now they might have some e-file you have to go on to claim the reimbursement.
All right, that's, I have no further questions, Your Honor. Thank you very much, Bill.
You're welcome. Hopefully that gives you a better picture, and there's a little bit of flexibility in the plan, but I think for the most part, it's pretty well structured. We have a good consultant in that they've dealt with, the coastal engineering aspect and the permits of this many times. We've all through all the boards and everything. If there's any additional documentation, I believe the town boards even gave Bill the authorization to sign any paperwork without having to go through the boards, as I said, as all within the funding structure of their approval.
Right.
Great.
And this project, it would seem to me, is far less complicated than the Perry Green rebuild, and that bulkhead, that seems far more complex.
Yeah, that
should work.
That involved, even though there were two other minor phases, but that involved a drainage pipe. It involved, having to deal with an existing structure that wasn't going to be taken out, and different material than what was there originally. That was a steel bulkhead for most of it. And then there were also some other aspects to the project, and then the soil conditions had varied. Here, being that there was already a pier there, I think, we're only going to be, quote, digging the hole next to it, so it really shouldn't,
It's like putting up a new cedar fence or something.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time. It's 1:45. We have just a couple of, reality check. We're on the agenda for HTC at 4:15 this Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Should we call them at 4:10 or exactly 4:15, or how does that?
I'm gonna log on probably at 4:10,
Okay.
just to do the log on thing, make sure my computer's up to snuff.
And I'll have the document open. I have the before and after kind of numbers you gave me. Thank you for that. And I'll just put it in context.
Yeah.
I've been wrong before, but it should be pretty straightforward at this point.
Slam dunk, yeah.
Yeah. We've done what they've asked us to do. I can't think of anything that we didn't do.
Right. Yeah, we've addressed all their concerns, so.
Yeah, the wild card is because frankly, getting them to specify what they want us to do was a harder exercise than I thought.
Yes.
It would not be impossible for them to have new and additional concerns that we can't anticipate.
Another wild card is that notice went out for public comment too for this meeting.
That's right.
So if there is any opposition,
we'll hear that.
And we can discuss after. Let's not.
Okay.
Because
All right. I think we've discussed the signs. We've discussed dredging and lower Wharf rebuild. Let's wait and see on Porsche applications at TPZ. I have no further business. If there's no further business, then we move to adjourn this meeting by unanimous decree.
Thank you.